physical activity and functional ability. So Kemmler and his group, again in 2010, they did a multi-purpose exercise intervention, and this was kind of a longer-term 18-month study. And what they did was just have them do multi-purpose, so cardio, strength, flexibility, balance training, and it improved all 4 components of functional ability. So that power, that strength, coordination, and aerobic endurance. And again, like I mentioned earlier, leg strength is linked to functional ability because it helps us do things. Stand up, get in and out of our car, walk upstairs. So that's also important in terms of training and functional ability. So now we'll kind of go into training programs for the elderly. Exercise is composed of 4 different things. Frequency, should you do it 3 times a week, 2 times a week, every single day? How about the intensity? Should they be doing easy, moderate, or strenuous activities? Should they be doing multi-set or single set for strength training? How long should they do it? 10 to 15 minutes? Could they go 30 minutes or even an hour? And the type, should they be doing more cardio, more strength, more flexibility, or balance? So we'll kind of explore several training programs and what they've come up with. The first component of exercise, frequency, I looked at 3 different studies, each one a little different. The first one was done in 2004 by Dr. Sortario, and he had 5 sessions of cardio a week. So it was just cardio. They could choose cycling, walking. They even had like aerobic floor dancing, like line dancing and stuff like that. So they got to choose what they did 5 times a week. And what happened was they noticed a reduction in BMI, fat, and lean muscle mass. So while they did lose a little bit of lean muscle, they did reduce their weight and fat percentage. So that's a plus. Another study by Galvo in 2005 looked at strength training, and they did 2 sessions a week. And what they found was that 2 sessions a week had an increase in quadricep strength and in lean muscle mass. So only doing it twice a week was, bringing some benefit as well. And the last one had 4 sessions a week, and these were also multi-purpose exercises. So again, incorporating strength, cardio, flexibility, and balance. And these also had an increase in lean muscle and an increase in functional ability. So these all have good results. Some of these studies were longer than others. This first one was only 3 weeks, so while the results are promising, it may not be feasible for an elderly person to come 5 times a week and do a cardio session. So probably something for 2 or 4 times a week is a little more achievable by someone in that age group. The second mode of exercise, intensity, low, moderate, and high. We kind of, again, looked at 3 different studies that did each one. The study by Galvo and Taff in 2005 looked at strength training, so repetitions, and how many is effective. So they compared a group of elderly people who were doing 1 repetition of a strength training move and another group doing 3 repetitions of the same thing. And what they found was that the 1 rep group had the same benefits as the 3 rep group, which is good because that means they don't have to do as much. If they're yielding the same results, then why would you want to do more? Another study looked at cardio at a moderate intensity. Again, this did have a reduction in fat and BMI, and it did increase stair climbing performance, which we mentioned stair climbing is important, or at least leg strength in terms of maintaining independence. So moderate also has its goal, or its perks. And high intensity, this study looked at multi-purpose exercise sessions, so again, incorporating all of those aspects of exercise. They noted that high intensity had greater gains than the lower intensity in the post-testing of functional ability measures, and also greater gains in muscle mass. But again, how long can an elderly person sustain a high-intensity program, especially when you know here that a low-intensity one does just as good. Looking at types, again, we're looking at that multi-purpose exercise program. Unfortunately, had better outcomes when performed in higher intensities than with low. So if you're doing a multi-purpose program, you'd probably have to do it a little higher intensity. But it does cover all bases of fitness. Strength had similar outcomes when performed as low intensity as a high intensity, and it's specific. So you can, if you know that you're losing muscle mass in your legs you can train for that. Same with your arms. And cardiovascular demonstrated improvement in stair-stepping performance. So these all have really important components. Some are just more feasible than others for this population. So some of the conclusions I came to after looking at all this information and reading about all these programs is that the training programs are necessary for prevention, to reduce obesity, prevent sarcopenia, and increase functional ability, like we just said. All the previous exercise studies demonstrated gains in muscle mass, reduction in weight, BMI, and body fat percentage, which are all necessary for prevention of sarcopenia and to preserve functional ability. And a program should cover all components of fitness. I think it's hard to just focus on one thing, just strength or just cardio, because if you're just doing strength, you're not getting everything. So for me, after reading all of this, the most logical program would be to have an all-around, multi-purpose, multifunctional exercise program for the elderly of moderate intensity over high, because like we just showed, lower intensities can have the same results. So there's no need to push someone harder than they want to go and discourage them. Emphasis on strength, because strength seems to have the bigger gains and translate better into functional ability. So just because you're working on cardio and you can run or walk far doesn't mean that you can, get out of your car easily. So strength should kind of be emphasized at any well-rounded exercise program. And overall, it should be reasonable. It should be something that people want to do and can do. You shouldn't ask someone to come 6 days a week, an hour every time, at a high intensity. Perception is really important, especially with this group. So something moderate, 2 to 3 times a week would be ideal. In general, I think that, especially with our aging population, we should have a stronger focus on fitness through the lifespan, not just once we're overweight, let's start exercising. Because as we discussed in the first slide, 80% of obese children are obese adults, and we want to kind of stop that cycle. And one last little piece of information for you. Inactive adults can lose up to 5 to 7% of muscle each decade. So every 10 years, if you're not exercising, you can lose 5 to 7% of your muscle. So prevention is key. Prevention is key through maintaining healthy body weights, healthy body fat percentage, and a healthy, active lifestyle. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you.